Hi, and welcome to Comedy Recapped. Today we'll be examining the 1986 American horror comedy musical film titled Little Shop of Horrors. The movie starts with a grumpy Mr. Mushnick at his flower shop with his clumsy and nerdy employee, Seymour Krelborn, and a ravishing and high-pitched voice Miss Audrey. Mr. Mushnick bitterly complains about his misfit employees and transfers his aggression on young high school girls loitering around his shop. In the dark streets, Seymour, Audrey, and Mr. Mushnick are seen singing the musical number Skid Row, as they all express their sadness in their verses. Mr. Mushnick eases into a new scene lamenting bitterly about low patronage and suggests shutting down the shop. Seymour wants a change in the pattern of operation in the shop and introduces a strange and interesting plant he purchased from a Chinese vendor. He believes the plant to be a fly trap and names it Audrey II. He also believes the plant came about as a result of the eclipse of the sun. A lot of customers troop in after seeing the plant, and patronage increases, to Mr. Mushnick's pleasure. The fly trap gets sick. Seymour tries his best to see that the plant gets better quickly and grows, but all his efforts come to nothing. Seymour then sings his worries and his frustration to the plant for refusing to grow and recover. He sings and questions the plant, asking him to tell it what else he could possibly do to make it feel better. Unfortunately, he trips while singing, and he gets cut by a sharp edge and starts bleeding profusely. He licks the wound a few times in a bid to stop his hand from bleeding. Seymour gets stunned as the plant makes a similar licking sound. He gets closer to the plant, and it motions for Seymour to stretch out his hand, which he does. Then the plant takes in a few drops of his blood delightfully. Seymour is stunned by what has happened, and comes to the realization that only human blood could satisfy the plant. Seymour goes for a radio interview about people with weird items in a bid to advertise for Mr. Mushnick's shop and derive more customers. Mr. Mushnick is pleased and calls it a great advertisement. However, Miss Audrey is sad as she missed most of the interview. She goes back home singing about her sad and lonely life. She also fantasizes about Seymour as her dream man. The next day, Mr. Mushnick is seen at his shop with a lot of customers as the plant has become a popular local sensation. He is seen angry at Seymour for leaving a job unattended to and scolds him. Seymour looks drained and depressed and falls into a mood of defeat. Miss Audrey comforts him and advises him to upgrade his lifestyle, as well as his mode of dressing, as he is able to accomplish his dreams now. But Seymour insists he owes everything to Mr. Mushnick since he was orphaned and he couldn't betray the kindness Mr. Mushnick had always shown him. Seymour asks Audrey to be with him that night, but Audrey tells him she would be with her boyfriend later at night. Seymour, while closing the shop for the day, encounters a strange man riding a motorcycle in a black leather jacket. They get into a confrontation as Seymour tries to tell him they are closed for the day. Miss Audrey runs in on them, introducing the leather jacket-wearing guy, Oren Scrivello, as her boyfriend to Seymour. Seymour notes Oren's aggressive and abusive behavior towards Miss Audrey. He watches them in sadness and bids them bye as they both leave on Oren's motorcycle. The fly trap has grown really huge and stunned Seymour as it said its first words to Seymour, leaving Seymour in shock not only at its size, but also that it could speak. The fly trap then begins to lament to Seymour about being hungry and starving. The fly trap starts to convince Seymour to feed him with more human blood as they exchange their grievances through a song. A scene cuts into Oren physically abusing Miss Audrey, and back to Seymour and the fly trap. The fly trap then convinces Seymour that Oren would be a good feed for him, with a lot of blood, and that way Seymour can have his way with Miss Audrey. At Oren's office, a weird man comes for an appointment, followed by Seymour, who holds a gun with the intention of killing Oren. He's successful. Seymour takes the body to the flower shop, drags it through the room, uses an axe to decapitate the body, and feeds the parts to the fly plant. Unknown to Seymour, Mr. Mushnick accidentally witnesses this and is terrified. Seymour sees a policeman talking to Miss Audrey. He approaches her to find out what the police had told her. She tells him Oren has gone missing. She tells him she is pleased that he has gone missing, though she feels guilty. Seymour and Audrey start to sing about their romantic interest in each other. In the musical number, Suddenly Seymour. At the end of the song, they share a kiss. At the shop, Mr. Mushnick walks into Seymour and confronts him about the disappearance of Oren and how he witnessed it and was aware of what Seymour had done. He then advises Seymour to report himself to the police, but on second thought, he tells Seymour to leave town and leave the fly trap in his care. Unfortunately, the flytrap is readily positioned behind Mr. Mushnik to devour him, which it successfully does as it consumes Mr. Mushnik whole. The next scene sees a lot of reporters and dignitaries at the shop, with a lot of juicy offers for Seymour, as well as trying to interview him, which was the proof that Seymour and his flytrap had indeed grown popular. The flytrap becomes hungry in front of the reporters. An interview asks Seymour to feed it with plant food in their presence. Seymour gets angry and chases everyone away from the shop. Seymour runs into a dark alley, feeling sad. Miss Audrey follows him and informs him about the reporters coming back the next day with a huge paycheck. Seymour asks Miss Audrey to marry him that night, and she says yes. They plan to get married immediately and leave town. Seymour hurriedly goes back to the shop with plans to leave. The flytrap begins to demand food. Seymour initially disagrees with feeding the plant. After a little back and forth, Seymour grumpily leaves the shop, going to look for food for the plant. After he leaves, the flytrap makes a corny call to Miss Audrey. She is shocked at the plant's ability to speak, so she goes to the shop to confirm. Unfortunately, the flytrap grabs her with its mouth to her stomach. Seymour walks in and saves Audrey from being completely consumed. He runs outside the shop carrying her. Seymour tells Audrey he fed Orrin and Mr. Mushnik to the flytrap. Audrey then sings about them being together and assures Seymour of her love for him, then asks Seymour to feed her body to the flytrap so she could be a part of it and always be close to him. Miss Audrey gives up the ghost in her wedding dress in Seymour's arms. Seymour takes her body and feeds it to a pleased, human bloodthirsty flytrap. Seymour runs to the top of a building and attempts to end his life, but is interrupted by a man who tells him he had acquired another flytrap from the branches of Seymour's original flytrap. Seymour runs back to his flytrap at the flower shop and is shocked as he exposes the flytrap's branches and sees a lot of other little flytraps. The flytrap mockingly thanks Seymour for making his mission possible for flytraps to take over the world. Seymour is perplexed, but unfortunately devoured by the flytraps. The movie ends with a lot of American families rushing to get a flytrap, as it has become extremely popular and every household desires to own one. 3 women are seen singing "Don't Feed the Plants" in front of the American flag. There is an invasion in the city with a lot of giant flytraps destroying the entire city. Humans are seen running and crying for help, but there seems to be no hope. And that's all for Little Shop of Horrors. Hopefully you've enjoyed this recap as much as we did. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. If you would like to look into other movies with us, be sure to like and click the subscribe button so you never miss a single video. Thanks for watching.